everybody's, I guess it's everybody's dream to be able to start a business and not have any investment required. Doesn't usually work that way. But I do have some ideas I want to share with you that I think you can start a business from scratch and make it your own business. You might want to share some of these ideas with family and friends, clients, customers that are looking to start a business, or even for yourself or others to add on to your existing business. Sometimes a great way to amplify your business, to grow your business, is to add on an extra service or to take on something that you can utilize the resources you have. For example, if you have a virtual team of, you might have some virtual assistants, and to keep them busy all the time, you can't always do that, depending on their specialty. But this is something you can maybe add in. This could be one of those things you could add in and amplify your business. So you can decide, we'll talk about it. I'm excited about these ideas. I'm not gonna do them myself, but I think they're pretty good ideas. And I see a gap in the marketplace where I think someone could, like you, someone smart like you, could get involved and make something happen. So information has value. We all know that. And there's something missing from that though. Supposing I was a 99-year-old gold miner, and I was in a cabin at the top of the hill, and outside I had a map. I knew that within about 15 feet of my cabin front door, definitely there was gold there. But I don't have the tools, I don't have a team, I'm 99, I've kind of got what I have, and I'm not looking to start a big deal anymore. And yet, that map to $100 million worth of gold isn't worth anything to anyone if you don't act on it. And he's not gonna act on it. So really the map isn't worth anything to him, and him not acting on it doesn't help him or help anybody else. Now, if I knew that guy and I knew that he had a map to where the gold was, I could broker that. I could sell it to you and say, listen, I know you're looking for a gold mine. I found a gold mine, literally. I found a gold mine, and I'm gonna tell you what it is, but I want 10% of the profits and I want 10,000 hours up front. You'd say, well, I'll agree to that as long as we find gold there. I just sold information and I didn't have to do anything. I didn't have to buy a shovel. I didn't have to have a team. I didn't have to get dirty even. I didn't even have to go there. So this is how information can be worth a lot of money if you know what to do with it. And here's why I think there's a gap missing. I'm going to talk about authors that write books and speakers and podcasts and blogs. And there might be some other things I'm missing. Speaker agency, for example. People that have conferences and they want speakers. So listen, each one of these has a need. They all want something from somebody. The author, he wants to get his book out and get published. So what does he want to do? He wants to get promoted. So he wants to get on podcasts. He wants to get interviews. He wants to get on TV shows. He wants to get on the stage and speak. This author wants to also perhaps contribute some snippets of his book, his book, on a blog and get out there and get indexed on that and get some SEO going, and to get featured so that people on a business book blog might find his book. Now the blog guy that runs a blog, he's looking for ad income, he's looking for sponsored posts, he's looking for interesting things he can put on his blog so he doesn't have to write everything. Then you get the podcast guy. The podcast guy, he wants ad revenue, he wants sponsored shows, maybe sponsor his show or sponsor a particular show, and he's looking for interesting guests, and people are looking for him. So some of his snippets from his podcast might be featured on a blog. And I'm going to say is that the author who just wrote a book is a great candidate for him to interview. So here what you have is you have these 3 or 4 towers, I'll call them, the speakers, need for speakers on the stage, or nowadays virtual events. Then you got the author who's looking to be featured somewhere. Then you've got the podcast who's looking for guests. And then you've got the blog who's looking for information that they can publish, snippets that the author and the podcast can actually contribute to them. And some blog owners, maybe not all, but some of them are interesting to interview. So you can build your own ecosystem here, but what don't you have? Even me, I have this idea, it could be worth something. I don't have the database. I don't have the information. I have an idea, but I don't have the information. So now you've got to go from idea to collecting the information, then you got to curate the information. You'd say, well, if I just wrote a book, I would Google top 100 business podcasts and I'd go on there. All right, good luck. Because it's not that simple. These guys have schedules, the most popular ones. You're going to have to submit a certain amount of information. You'll be busy full-time submitting to blogs and submitting information to podcasts. You won't have time to do anything. I know that. So now we get back to this broker, this ecosystem. Let's say you and I build this ecosystem. I'm going to blame it on you. You build the ecosystem, and I'm going to show you what you do. So you build this ecosystem. So you want to be on the lookout for people who've written books recently. And it don't even have to be recently, they could be a while. And they want to revive their speaking career from the book, or they want to revive book sales. Mike Fallett, many of you know him online. He's published, I think, about 200 books. Every one of those is looking, every one of those authors is looking for opportunities to speak, to be featured in blogs, to go on podcasts. You can do that. You can search top new authors of the year. I don't know how you're going to get in contact with them, but you know what? You do, and you're going to get, that's why your database is tremendously valuable. Now, a guy that's a publisher like Mike Fallett, he has all that information, and you can I would make a deal with him. Hey, Mike, I'll give you so much money for it if you give me permission, or you want to send out my email to them. They ask permission to get in touch with me, and I'll promote them, you know? And you can make a deal like that. Otherwise, you just hunt them down. Now, take a guy that's got a podcast. These guys are busy. They don't want to be bothered with all kinds of people saying, hey, I'd like to be on your podcast. Hey, I'd like to be on your podcast. No, what they want is they want to search for people that are interesting. So if I'm going to present to you and you're the podcast owner, you want to know right away, what's the easiest way I can tell you about? I'm going to give you a short introduction. I might give you a 2-minute video clip. I would prepare something so that when I present this speaker to you, you'll be able to make a decision quickly. And I have to have a database of podcasts, because this author is going to say, well, I don't want to go on a woman's baby cooking show for cooking food for babies when I wrote a business book. You know, he doesn't want to, and you don't want to be snippets of your book printed on a blog that's about car repair in India, if you're from, States or Canada. So there's a lot of people who say, I'll promote you, and they just blast you out everywhere, and then your links end up on dumb websites, dumb to you, on non-relevant websites, and that doesn't make you look good and actually decreases your SEO. So if you take a look at the needs of blog owners, the needs of podcasts, and the need of speakers, that people who want speakers like a speaker agency, and the need of the author, you're going to find that every one of them almost has a two-way street. The podcast owner wants these speakers, but the speaker wants to be on the podcast. The podcast owner wants ads, and people want to advertise. So it's almost like a two-way street, and you can actually make money on both sides. So I might go to the podcast guy and see if I can get money for each one I place. Can I get $300? Probably not. I might get $65, I might get $42, I might get some money from that. And I promise you, if you don't get money from that, in every case, you can certainly get money from the speaker. Now, supposing that you have a book, you just got the book out, you're real excited, it's reached #1 Amazon, for a few days, you're all excited about it, you're gonna make millions, right? If your publisher's been honest with you, you're not gonna make millions from the book itself. But it can be a gateway to open up all kinds of other opportunities for you. I've written lots of books, and it opens up tremendous opportunities. I think I told the story, I won't do it now. I told the story about how I wrote a book. It wasn't even a good book, it was a terrible book, it was 600 pages, it wasn't even a good book, but it was cutting edge at the time. And just based on that one book and 2 meetings, I raised $1 million. Now, that's not gonna happen to everybody, but it's an opening to the world, right? So if I'm an author and I've just written a book, I wanna get out there, but I don't have time. I don't even know how to find the top 100, management podcasts and get in contact with those people and find out what their needs are. I don't know which blogs will charge me to put a post on there. Some of them will want me to advertise at the same time, or have an opportunity for me to advertise. I might be interested in that. I don't know these things. I'm an author. I just wrote a business book. I don't know all about podcasts and so on. And I know I want to go speaking on some big stages, but I don't know how to contact these people. So this is where the great opportunity comes in for you to build a curated database of these 3 or 4 pillars. And then you can say to me, Gregory, I saw you wrote a book. I can promote you. I've got about 11 different podcasts I can get you on the next month. I know 14 blogs that will take some of your snippets. It's going to cost you a little bit, and so and so. So now you're going to say to me, I'm going to want $2,100 for that. I might just pay that, because if you can get me on all these podcasts, you can get me on blogs. Now you go to the blog guy, he's going to say, I want $45 per post. All right, so use some of your $2,100 budget for that. Some podcasters want you to advertise. All right, fine. So you run an ad on the book. This book, was written by so-and-so. It's a great book. It's available. Use the affiliate link in my thing below, and so and so. There's a lot of crisscross. If you want to make money, I've written, I have a video on this too, and I've written about it, and that is, I think about financial antenna. That is, if you can get between activity. For example, put me on a street corner in New York. After a week, I'll be set. Why? I don't know New York. I don't even know any. Might know 1 or 2 people there, but I'm not going to get more than a couch to sleep on for one night. You know why? Because I have confidence that I'm going to be able to figure out, you can do this too, that whenever there's an area where there's a lot of money flowing back and forth, and who else can you think of except New York, I guess, but any Miami, could be any city, it could be a small town. Where there's commerce going on, you can get yourself in the middle of it, and you can make money from being in the middle of it. So that's my idea. That this is not fully formulated. In fact, as I was going through this, I came up with a few pages, and it just was too complicated for a short video, and it's way too complicated for a post. If I get some good feedback on this, I'll actually turn out a 45-page booklet on it and make it $17 or something like that. But you can actually take this and actually apply this to many other fields as well. And that is, have a curated database of several parties that want two-way. The blog guy wants content, but he also wants advertising. The guy who wrote the book wants to get exposure, and the people who have a podcast want guests, and they also want advertising. So you find out as this money starts flowing back and forth, you get yourself in the middle of it. In this case, I'm talking about probably the money comes from the author that you're promoting. And yet, you might find some podcast guys who say, look, for every interview I accept, I'll give you $45, or I'll give you $75, I'll give you $42, some kind of money. Why? Because it saves them from having their VA contact you, download some videos that you had, go through them, figure out if you're, right? So like if you're an agent, it's kind of like being a super agent. If you're an agent, you're going to do all this upfront work, and you're going to do the 6 or 7 hours work that now condenses down to a 90-second or 2-minute presentation that you can now send out to 75 different bloggers or 75 different podcasts, and get picked up that way and follow up. You yourself very quickly want to have a VA do all this. Listen, I've done this before, and when you're going through it, you're going to find out right now, if you go Google top 100 business podcasts, you're going to get a list of 100 business podcasts. But you don't know if they're any good. You don't know how many users they have, and if it's somebody really like Seth Rogen, for example, you get his podcast, it's unlikely, or Ed Milet, it's unlikely that your author who wrote a book on the best ways to hire employees, is he going to get, that author is not going to get on Ed Milet's program very easily. You're not going to get on these Josh Rogan, right? You're not going to get on these Joe Rogan. You're not going to get on these famous podcasts. So that 100 might actually be 44 legitimate ones for your purposes. And this is where your benefit is. And this is where the high value comes in curating and going through and curating this podcast list where you get your own information up to date, and you know that it's exactly correct. And you build a spreadsheet, you build a database. And then when I say, hey, I wrote a book about how to make cheese at home, you're going to go, you know what? I got you covered. I got 7 podcasts, 44 blogs. I'm going to charge you $2,100. I'm going to pay it because I can't afford to take the time, and I can't, for $2,100, or maybe you're going to charge me more, I can't even hire a VA for 2 months. So this might seem trivial to you. Make it, oh yeah, I thought of that myself. Most of you reading this won't do anything about it. Hearing this aren't going to do anything about it. And some of you are going to say, oh, that's too easy. I thought of that myself. Okay, great. I'm telling you that this will work if you apply yourself to it, because I don't know, there's probably somebody doing this. I just don't know who they are. And I read thousands of pages a month, and I keep on top of a lot of things, and it's never been presented to me. So that's what I would suggest. And that's a business you can start with almost nothing. If you are going to spend money, it's that you're going to spend your time. But if you are going to spend money, I don't know, you might put up a nice landing page. You might pay somebody to edit a few videos for you to send off. You might spend a little bit of money, but up to $1,000 I think would get you pretty far. Maybe more would be better. But the idea is, what can you do to get started? And then you go ahead and you talk to these authors and you tell them, listen, I can get you booked here, and I can get you booked there, and I can get you, after a while, this will pay a lot of money. It's like public relations. Hook yourself in with a low-cost public relations, or learn how to do some PR. And you can get, some of these bigger authors are paying $5,000 and $10,000 a month just to get their name out there. There's a lot of money in public relations and in promotion. There's a lot of money in promotion. It's the first end of promoting, marketing, and sales. And so when you get yourself into the sales arena in some way, that's what you're doing when you're selling ads, or you're selling podcast space, or you're telling the podcast, so I can find you somebody. You tell a new author. These new authors are really, really looking for it. And if you're smart, I know you're smart, but if you really have some energy behind your smartness, you might say, you know what, I'm going to help this guy develop a seminar or a webinar, or I'm going to help him develop a course out of his book, or I'm going to have a membership site. I'm going to help show him how to do that based on the book that he wrote. Or the podcast guy. I'm going to go to the podcast guy. Now that I talked to 17 podcast guys, I'm getting a new idea. I might, you know what? I might do a book with the best interviews of the top 10 podcasts. That's a great book. That would sell. Or maybe the top 10 podcasters on, Evan Carmichael. It's unlikely you're going to get much of his time. The guy's pretty popular. But you can find guys, you can find podcasters, women too. You can find podcasters that they might be willing to be interviewed by you for a book that you're doing. How they get started, what they find, who are your top 3 favorite guests, and so on. And as you get into this, I'm going to tell you, as you get into this, you're going to stumble across other opportunities. So while you're contacting a podcaster because you have a guest you want to put on, something's going to trigger your mind and say, you know what, this is really interesting. I'll bet you if I talk to 45 or 200 podcasters, I'd have enough for a book. Same as bloggers, same as these authors. Why don't you take a look at all the authors you're talking to? Mike Fallett is too busy and he's making too much money. But if I was going to make something else, or if I was his partner or something, I'd be looking at saying, what else can we do? Because we know 200 people that trust us. And this is not just Mike, there's any kind of publisher, and there's dozens of them out there. Look for vanity publishers. Mike's not a vanity publisher, but look for small publishers. And every one of them normally takes money, publishes a book, and kisses the author and sends them on his way. What you really need to do is figure out, where can I fit in with the information I have? I'm telling you something, once you get a podcast list, really curated well, you got all the contact information, you build up a relationship with them, you got a long list of bloggers, there's no stopping you. This can be as big as you want it. There's millions of podcasts, millions of blogs, and hundreds of thousands of authors that can use your help and pay you well in the meantime. Put yourself in the middle of that money flow, okay? Get in the middle of that money flow. And what you need to do is do this curated database. And nobody wants to do that. It takes a lot of time. But once you have it, that's really valuable. And that is the kind of business you can sell. Once you have curated databases and you show some, you could get some investment for it too. You show some action, you show some proof that it's actually working. This is a business. This is a real business you can sell. Those are my thoughts on that. So thanks for popping in. Any questions, just go ahead and ask me, and maybe we'll do a follow-up video, a more succinct one. I let this run on a bit because I wanted to explain things. And let's chop it up, as they say. Let's get some ideas flowing here and figure out what can we do. Your ideas plus a couple ideas I shared, plus somebody else's ideas, and some girl over here, she's got ideas. Let's put them together and we can come up with a nice formula. All right? Let's help each other make some business.